Well, let's go now to Zainab Chaudry, who's a spokesperson at the Council on American-Islamic Relations. She joins us now from Washington, D.C. Good to have you back with us, Zainab. We heard there from our correspondents in the studio and on the ground in Gaza that it was, in fact, Israel that was essentially breaking the terms of the ceasefire agreement, something that Hamas had pointed out and had used as its reason why it was going to suspend the deal. It really is at this point more of an unequal agreement, isn't it? That Israel seems to be allowed to break the terms of the deal whenever it feels like, but the minute that Hamas chooses to call them out on it, then somehow it's Hamas's fault for holding up the deal.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, ever since the ceasefire deal was struck in the preliminary stages, when the phase one was implemented, there have been dozens of violations reported by Israel on the terms that were agreed upon, and these include obviously restrictions on delivery of aid, humanitarian aid, and trucks and construction equipment into Gaza, as well as the killing of civilians, the indiscriminate targeting of civilians, including children, and also just the surveillance aircraft that's been spotted in no-fly zones. And so these repeated violations of these terms, unfortunately, do put the ceasefire deal at risk, and it does undermine any faith that there is good faith negotiations happening in terms of helping to sustain the ceasefire.
And as well as Israeli forces continuing to break the terms of this deal, we've had the US President Donald Trump weigh in as well with his controversial and outrageous plan to essentially depopulate Gaza and remove Palestinians from the enclave permanently. I mean, those comments from the US President, surely it wouldn't be helping the process.
Well, look, Gaza is not a home for a land without a people, for a people without a land. This is a land that very much has a people that belong to it. Those people are Palestinians, and they call this land home. And this is their rightful land. They have the right to live there with freedom and dignity, and the right to have a life for themselves and their loved ones. And it's not Donald Trump's place to make a decision on whether or not those Palestinians should be evicted from that land. Just like in 1917, it was not Britain's decision. It should not have been Britain's decision to take land from Palestinians and give it to Israel. In 2025, that land is not Donald Trump's to take it from Palestinians. There is no appetite for this kind of rhetoric in our government. Fortunately, there have been numerous members of Congress who have been speaking out against this plan. Many Americans are also speaking up against this, and Americans are contacting their members of Congress, urging them to put pressure on the Trump administration to force him to change his mind. But the reality is that you cannot forcibly displace 2 million people, or what's less than 2 million people now, considering the ongoing genocide and the toll that it's taken. And Egypt has also indicated that they do not plan to force Palestinians to be relocated from Gaza. And so we will wait and see what happens. But unfortunately, right now, Donald Trump does seem to be set on claiming that territory, but he does not have the support that he would need from his own base here in the United States.
And as our correspondent Nizar was explaining, negotiations towards the second phase of this deal are ongoing. And under the second stage of that agreement, Israeli forces must withdraw from the whole of Gaza, and the release of hostages and prisoners should also be complete. How hopeful are you that A, we'll actually get to that stage, and B, Israel will fulfill the terms of that phase of this agreement?
Well, I'll be very honest, based on Israel's track record, it doesn't inspire a lot of faith and confidence that they will continue to fulfill the terms of the second phase of the deal. Obviously, with pressure from the negotiating parties, with Qatar and Egypt weighing in and putting pressure on the Israeli government to uphold its end of the deal, may make some difference. We know that COGAT, for example, the Israeli agency that manages policy for the Palestinian territories, has said that Israel is committed to fulfilling its obligation, but unfortunately, its record doesn't speak well, and there have been repeated violations time and time again. And just the fact that even now, as aid is continuing to flow into the region, finally, which would hopefully allow the continuation of the ceasefire deal, the fragile ceasefire deal, to continue. We know that the level at which the aid should be entering, the level at which the bulldozers and construction equipment should be entering, is not at the level that was negotiated upon. It's much less than that. Israel's actions doesn't inspire a lot of faith, but we hope. And we hope that that Egypt and Qatar and the other parties that are helping to negotiate will be able to pressure them to abide by their terms and agree to withdraw from Gaza and allow to give peace a chance.
Okay, Zainab Chaudry, we'll leave it there for now. It's great to get your thoughts as always. Thank you.
Thank you.